Hey, Herrst, Alter, was ist das?
Do you speak English?
What is this? What is all this for?
Oh, this is just for Schnitz and Giggles.
Schnitzel and Giggles!
Welcome to Schnitz and Giggles, the podcast that stumbles upon the humor of cross-cultural confusion and life in Vienna, Austria, through the experiences of an Auslander and his Wiener.
Brought to you by the Edelweiss Crackers.
Disclaimer. This podcast is for the purpose of entertainment only and is not a replacement for therapy.
Guten Hallo and welcome back to the Schnitz and Giggles podcast. I'm Michael.
And I'm Lucas.
Hi, Lucas.
Hi.
How you doing, bud?
I'm good.
Cool.
Cool.
All right. Well, I'm excited to be back talking with you.
I feel we had that conversation before. But still, here we are.
Here we are. What do you got going on?
Well, so, well,
What do you?
let me unwrap something here for you.
Why are you unwrapping a snack?
Because I bought something for us, for you, especially today.
Okay.
And our listeners will not see it, but you can read the label.
It says Punschkrapfen.
Punschkrapfen, yes.
Doesn't look like any Krapfen I've seen.
Yeah. Because how would you describe like a regular Krapfen?
Well,
The ones that you know.
For our American listeners, it's a jelly donut. Basically, it's a big donut with stuff inside of it. A whole-less donut.
Yeah, I let that count. Yeah, although.
I mean, let that count. That's
Well, the
exactly-
Austrians probably would say, well, this is not a donut. It's a donut is something completely different. Although it's very close to it.
Hold on. Don't. Okay.
No, come on, try me.
Lucas, have you ever seen a donut? Yes. Have you seen a Krapfen?
Yes,
Have you seen a jelly-filled donut?
I've seen that too.
Have you seen a Krapfen?
Yes,
Yes, because they're the same thing.
not really.
Wow. Starting off with controversy.
It's like if you say the Germans and the Austrians are the same. It's like we had that episode.
Yeah, we did have that episode
So-
recently, but okay. What?
So don't even.
This isn't
let's
a Krapfen.
Let's not go. Okay.
Episode.
But the one thing I'm showing you right now.
So what I see here? So I've described a Krapfen as a jelly-filled donut, a big round thing.
Mm-hmm.
What Lucas is holding in his hand are what look to be square cakes,
Right.
covered with pink frosting, with a little chocolate drizzle on top.
The chocolate is optional,
Okay, well,
but yes,
I'll take that.
pink and rectangular or cube-shaped.
cube shape. That's the word.
That's the word you're looking for. Yeah. Always here to help my American friend
Thank you.
with your English. Yeah. Assuming that a Krapfen is basically a donut,
Correct.
let's agree for a moment on this. I'd like you to try one, because you said you didn't have one before.
I have not had one of these.
Okay.
no.
So take one and take a bite.
Oh, this is going to be great podcast material.
Yes.
Everybody loves chewing sounds.
So I'm going to describe here. Now Michael has taken that cube out of the wrapping and he's holding it, looking at it suspiciously, smelling it now. And now he's about to take a bite and he's opening his mouth and yes, he had his first bite of a Punschkrapfen. So compared to your previous Krapfen experiences,
So,
what are you going to say about that?
hot take here. Not a huge Krapfen fan.
Krapfen or
Krapfen.
Punschkrapfen?
Krapfen.
Okay.
I don't like jelly-filled donuts.
Okay. Yeah, fair.
So, not my preference.
Mhm.
Not a value judgment. Just I don't like it. This is a very different experience.
It sure is.
To start with, seems to be a firm marmalade of sorts.
Yeah, this has no jelly really in it. No,
No, it's not. It's not liquidy.
it's not like, no.
A little cake. A little bit of chew to it.
Yeah, keep on chewing.
Still working.
Still working.
it down.
You're just working on your first bite still.
Yeah. That's delightful.
It is.
Yeah, it's real nice.
But one thing I know that you know is when you order punch, you might mistake it like an English speaker might think, okay, well, I'm drinking some punch. But punch and punch are not necessarily the same thing.
Hold up.
Okay, I'm holding.
So when I'm getting a punch
Yes.
at the Christmas market, what am I getting?
I mean, I think the most important thing that you have to know, you're getting alcohol. And it's usually has a berry type flavor to it.
Yeah.
So
It's hot.
And it's hot. It's hot, yes. So it's a hot drink.
Fruity, alcoholic, hot beverage.
It's usually sold around Christmas time because hot beverages sell better in the cold time of the year.
So for those listening along at home, I took a bite of cake.
Right.
Was not hot.
Nope. However,
Not sure. I guess maybe there's a little taste of some alcohol in there.
Yeah, however, you actually consumed some alcohol now. Oh no. Stop this episode.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Is that allowed?
But to calm you down, it's the amount of alcohol is so small that even if you had like tons of Punschkrapfen, you probably get sick, but not because of the alcohol.
You're throwing up.
You're throwing
for sure.
up, yes, but
you're throwing up for sure, but for different reasons.
You could never get drunk on this kind of. It's just the way to make the dough. They soak some of those parts in.
I would say especially that middle.
I think it's rum.
That middle part probably has a little bit of.
Yeah, I think the middle part. I'm not an expert on Punschkrapfen, so I don't know how they're being made.
Why are we doing this?
So why don't I say, let's scrap this whole episode.
Let's get an expert in here.
Yeah, like where's a punch expert? An expert with a little bit of a punch.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so I've never had these before. Why haven't I had them before? Actually, let me reword that question.
Because I don't think that was even a good question.
Seems like a hard one to answer. When would I have had occasion to have a Punschkrapfen?
I mean, the occasion, it's also usually probably more popular during the cold season of the year. However, you can actually buy those all year long.
So you picked these up while we were shopping together in the grocery store.
Yeah.
Oh, does that ruin the magic? I don't know. But
you told us secrets.
we hung out together before.
Just before we recorded.
We bought these. I don't think I've ever probably made note of these before. I'm sure I've seen them, but since I've never had one, I never thought, I should buy a package. But if they're available all year round, then I've really.
I mean, they're easy to spot. Why? Because they're pink.
They are very
pink.
Like
it's pastry that is pink, and there's actually no other pink pastry in Austria that I know of. So if you see something pink, so watch out. This probably is the Punschkrapfen and has small amounts of alcohol in it, but it's really more for the taste and not, like I said just before, you can't get drunk on it. But you can actually, if you know the place Aida, for example.
Yeah. Everything's got to be pink there. All the cakes are pink.
Well, the whole store is pink.
Right.
Like the
theme.
The clothes the employees are wearing are pink.
The employees are pink. Well, I guess.
You know, like the apron. I'm talking about the apron. Like
what they're wearing is
what they're wearing. I just said what they're wearing. Not the people are pink.
You said the employees are pink.
Hey, are you racist?
I'm just responding to what you said.
You have a problem with pink people? I was like, is that
sometimes?
There's a pink party in Austria that, like, you know, their color is pink, but political party, not.
I mean, there might be a regular party too. Happens every Saturday night. All right, no more parties.
No more black humor here.
So when would I eat Punschkrapfen?
Well, just now.
Tell me.
Anytime really works. But when we talk about Krapfen in general, and I'm referring now to the regional idea of that you described as some donut-like.
We'll just go with the Krapfen.
Like it's filled with apricot jam usually, and has some sugar on top. That is kind of the symbol of Fasching season.
Fasching?
Fasching. Have you heard of Fasching before?
Well, I certainly have.
You certainly have, but
some of our listeners at home may not have heard of this. What is Fasching?
So Fasching is considered to be the 5th season of the year in Austria, parts of Germany, and other countries.
So winter, spring, summer, fall, Fasching?
Yeah, well, Fasching season begins on November 11th at 11 o'clock.
Really?
So November being the 11th month.
Yeah.
Yes.
The armistice.
And it usually goes until February or sometimes into early March, which of course is
lots of questions.
It's kind of the winter season or early spring season maybe. So that's when Fasching is. You might know the whole idea, but under a different name, which is Carnival.
Carnival.
Yeah, Carnival. In Austria, it's called Fasching. And in other places, it's called, even parts of other parts of Austria, it's called maybe Fastnacht. And there's a German word, Carnival. Yeah. That's it. That's it.
All right. Okay. Well, thanks for listening to our podcast, everybody.
Yeah. Okay. And that's when you eat Krapfen the most. And that's when most Krapfen are sold for the year.
At the beginning or during?
During. And especially towards the end of it.
Okay.
Basically, you try to eat up all the leftovers.
Well, sure. You can't have leftover Krapfen. No. That's ridiculous.
That is really the main reason to having Fasching, because the original word is coming from, like I just said, Fastnacht, Fasten, is to fast.
Yeah.
So the season of Lent, which is beginning just basically 40 days before Easter comes around, that is when Fasching ends. So the idea of Fasching is really, or Carnival, is really the time that's leading up to Lent. The motto is you party hard from November to February, and then you quit and
you give everything up.
You give everything up, and you're just have a very simple life for 40 days, and then Easter comes around, and then you kind of move on. But as days are warmer, usually those Krapfen, they're not as popular because they're heavy. Yeah, so you really enjoy them more when the weather is colder.
Yeah, Krapfen with a cup of coffee.
That's quite popular.
So November 11th, that's a pretty important day in the history of Europe. At 11 o'clock, 11th month, 11th hour.
Yes.
I'm trying to wrap my head around, did Fasching start celebrating at that time after the end of World War I? Or was that a time that was always the start of Fasching? I mean, I remember from my 10th grade history class talking about the importance of that, but I just have never known that it was associated with Fasching or Carnival.
The spirit of Fasching really is that basic rules in society are being undone or put upside down.
Yeah.
This idea is very ancient, that at some point, for comedic purposes or just for fun, the slave plays the role of the owner, and the owner kind of is like the slave, or the mighty, and the kings and queens, they are pretending to be not. Or the women take over the jobs that the men usually do. Stuff like that has been happening for ages and ages. So we're talking about back in the Roman Empire or dating back further.
I guess before the end of World War I, did Fasching start at 11 o'clock on November 11th? I guess is the core of my question here. Is that something that has been a modern adoption that blended the celebration of the end of World War I and Fasching?
To answer your question about World War I specifically and directly, it has nothing to do with World War I. Although I think the idea that the truce, or the end of World War I, 1918, happened on the same day was probably inspired by the fact that November 11th is the beginning of party season. So
let's give them something to party
about. The motto is make party, not war. Yeah. if that is a good kind of cultural translation. The one thing I've heard is that number 11 is kind of a fool's number. Probably has to do with 12 being, a more complete number. Yeah. And, sometimes the number 13 is also considered an unlucky or bad luck number. It's an odd number. And it's probably if you take it into a church or a Christian context, there's the 10 commandments and there's the 12 disciples, or 12 is a very important number in the Bible.
There just isn't anything for 11.
And there's 12 months in a year. And so 10 is good, 12 is good, but 11 is sort of weird.
Got no importance.
That's why some people believe that it's just the best number to pick if you you want to fool around.
Yeah.
And probably the symmetry of it all, 1 1 1 1 1 is sort of also a special time.
It's fun. Yeah.
So the Fasching is kind of interrupted by Christmas season. It takes a time out. But what some people also might find interesting is that Fasching season is sort of equal to the ball season.
Yeah,
all the dances and balls, they happen during Fasching season. So once Lent comes around, usually tradition is kind of demanding. I mean, there might be some now these days, but tradition demands you don't have any festivities, no more balls and dances. And the main reason, of course, is November through February is the coldest part of the year. And if you wanted to do any activities, they better be indoor activities. So all the dances and balls have been sort of crammed into that time of the year. Also, it's the time where you just let loose and let go of everything. And that kind of is the spirit of Fasching, as I just said earlier. Anything goes. Anything goes. And if you think of Carnival, maybe you've heard of the Carnival, in Venice, in Italy is very famous.
To wear masks.
And they wear those masks.
Yeah.
Well, the idea why they're wearing those masks is because they were doing all kinds of stuff.
They don't want people to know.
They don't want people to know that who's behind the mask.
Funny business.
So you basically had an excuse for everything. And Fasching or Carnival is actually celebrated in countries that have been traditionally Roman Catholic countries. Sure. Like I said, Italy has Carnival, Austria has it. Some parts of Germany that were Catholic, and there's Carnival in Brazil, as you know, the Rio de Janeiro Carnival is like very famous, and it's all about
New Orleans.
Yeah, it's all about breaking out of the routine and all those rules that kind of maybe drag you down in your day-to-day life, and you kind of want to get rid of that. And then when Lent comes around, you repent.
Yeah.
So the idea, like how it's been practiced in Austria, is really you go crazy, you commit all kinds of sins, and then for 40 days you repent, and hope
all those
for
things
some
off.
and you hope for some forgiveness. And because the church played such a major part in this tradition, this is why it's basically only celebrated in those countries that have Roman Catholic history.
Yeah, even though it's not a traditional church season or church holiday, it only really exists in contrast to the church traditions.
Yes, and it was some kind of way of venting.
Yeah.
Since we know from church history, I know, that
Our listeners are smart people. I'm
Oh,
sure
so
they
they usually also
Yeah.
you'll know that too. Yeah. Well, that's the church. The church had the reputation of being very strict, concerning life rules and concerning
rules and behavior,
Behavior.
standards of practice are all very important things.
exactly.
to-
So, at some point, in order to kind of keep the mood of the people kind of balanced, they sort of permitted some of these things. They tolerated it. They didn't really, of course, encourage it.
But it seems like people would take Lent far more seriously because of the nonsense that they were up to.
Exactly. I mean,
during Fasching. So
imagine you doing like all kinds of weird and stupid stuff for 4 months straight, perhaps except Christmas, and then you're like, "Ooh, what did I do wrong here?" And
now it's time to refocus.
that's to focus. So that is kind of the idea of Fasching.
Interesting.
And something that I kind of even forgot to mention, although it's the most obvious thing, if you live in Austria or any Carnival / Fasching celebrating countries, people dress up in costumes. That's kind of the most fun part, especially for kids.
At the very beginning.
At the very end.
The very end.
Yes. So what comes around soon enough is Faschingsdienstag.
Okay.
So Tuesday is the day before Aschermittwoch, which is Ash Wednesday.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the first day of repenting and the first day of Lent. So Tuesday is sort of the grand finale of Fasching season. And that's also usually when you have most of those costume parties, especially when talking about kids and schools. So in Austrian schools, either that day or sometimes the teachers, of course, they have to pick another day for several reasons. Everyone comes to school being dressed in costumes.
I remember dressing Kaylin up in her Snow White princess outfit
Princess.
in the middle of spring. No idea why.
You just follow along. Just
the school said, "Hey, it's Fasching.
Hey,
Wear a costume," and we said, "Okay."
yeah, I'm here. I'm from California. I'm just gonna
We
embrace the
didn't do
culture.
much research
No.
into why we were
Just
doing
go with
this.
it.
Just Kaylin wanted to wear her costume,
Right.
So she did.
Right. And that's really the main dress up season for Austrians in comparison to Halloween.
Yeah.
And Halloween has a completely different background. And Fasching is really about like being joyful, being happy, being crazy.
Yeah.
And Halloween has more like a darker spiritual background. And, it's all about being more like scary.
Yeah.
And during Fasching, you can basically dress up as anything. You can be a vampire during Fasching as well if you want to.
Sure.
But if you want to be a knight, a cowboy, a princess,
Or all three.
all three at once. Yes.
Cowboy Night Princess.
Cowboy, vampire, princess, cowboy. Go for it. That's the message of
Good to know.
Fasching. And so the tradition of Halloween is very young in Austria, Europe.
Yeah.
We didn't really celebrate that as much. Also for the reason, like some people say, well, we already have Fasching. Why don't we need another like costume?
Yeah, why do we need to dress up
celebrate
again?
festival in the?
That's a great point.
Yeah. Although
point.
Halloween has become more and more important and more popular throughout the years here.
I'd say in the 15 years we've been around here, it has increased in prominence and activity.
Right. Yeah. It's going to stay for some
A
time.
lot more things in the stores.
Right.
It seems.
Yeah, because usually you have
Costumes
a
are
hard time.
available earlier than
Yeah, you'd have a hard time finding costumes in October some years ago.
months before
But now it's
Fasching.
yeah. Well, maybe it's preparing for Fasching for November.
Yeah.
But as I just said, nobody dresses up in November, except you go to a ball and you kind of, I mean, that's more fancy clothes, but not, unless it's a themed ball, but that is very specific. Well, one thing I forgot to mention is that the end of Fasching always moves around like in the calendar. Like the day is never the same. It's always a Tuesday.
Sure.
But
it's dependent on when
Easter. Lent depends on Easter, and Easter depends actually on, it's usually the first full moon of, the spring year, because that actually goes back to the Passover festival of the Jewish tradition. It's like all connected. Yeah. And that's the Easter tradition. So when Easter takes place, that determines when Lent, like you can count back 40 days and then you count back to that Tuesday, which ends the season. So it always starts on the same day, like on November 11th.
Yeah, but it could
go like for that many months or weeks. And
sometimes Easter will shift by a couple weeks.
And usually it's sometime in February, but this year, like in 2025, it's actually in the first week of March, I think.
So it was the first week of March. Just, knowing about probably when this is going to be released.
Yeah, in 2025, it was.
It was.
Why is that so fun too?
Because
we don't know when we record this and when we're going to release this.
Well, we know when we record it. We don't know when we're going to release it, and it's probably not going to be the 1st of March.
It's actually next week.
I know.
That's
why I'm laughing.
I'm just.
No way. Although this was a shorter episode.
This is the last.
Although now we've added 4 different cut-ins that you have to figure out where to put those in.
I think I'm going to delete all of this. So I forgot to mention that Faschingsdienstag is Fat Tuesday in other regions, as like you said, in New Orleans and Mardi Gras. It's the same idea, same day.
Yeah, the concept that it all starts in November and then ends right before Lent. I don't think I've ever really comprehended that. Like for me, it's always just been, that's something that happens right before Lent. Mm-hmm. So the association with Lent is obviously pretty clear, but it's like that's the thing that within these regions that have the Catholic faith tradition, they're going to do this right before Lent.
Yeah. Fasching, yeah.
All right. Good. Hey, we've had some Punschkrapfen, talked about Fasching. Cool.
I think I'm going to take a bite of my Punschkrapfen too.
All right.
Yeah, because I haven't had one in a long, long time.
We're just sitting there waiting for you.
Yeah. Maybe I'll give it up for Lent. But not now.
I think I might.
Yeah.
I might. I mean,
are you going to have another one like soon?
I don't know. I have to finish this one.
Yeah, 2 bites so far.
I'm not a big cake guy. So like when it comes to eating small bites of cake, I might be able to get through it, but it was quite delicious.
Well,
so go out and try it for yourself, everybody.
Yeah, I appreciate that you were willing to try this, even though I set you up and made you consume alcohol just during the day.
Sneaky fellow.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I hope you forgive me.
All right. Well, with that, good and bye-bye.
Good and bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to this Schnitzel Giggles episode.
Remember to follow and subscribe if you want more content like this from the Edelweisscrackers.
Don't be shy about commenting or leaving feedback. Until next time.
So long.
Farewell.
Good Wiedersehen.
Bye-bye.